What's up, y'all? This is Naji from Cigar Talk, and I'm here to give you a special promotion. Now, if you know me and follow me on Twitter, y'all know I like to win me some money. I sports bet and I give out my picks. But now, what I need you to do is sign up to my bookie using the special promo code CIGAR, and it'll match up to $750 of your money, and it'll throw that on top. So listen, man, this is the time to get paid. Let's do it. You can sports bet, you can hit the slots. I even won me some money yesterday on them table games. It's all legit and a great way to make some extra cash. So use the promo code CIGAR and download my bookie.
Yo, what's going on, world? This your boy Naji from Cigar Talk, and today I got a very special guest, man. Seated to my right, here he is, man. We used to call him Sweet Hands, I call him Pimp Hands now because he be smacking everybody. My boy Caleb.
How you doing?
Man. What's up, brother?
Man, same old, just in camp, grinding away.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good. Vegas living, you know what I'm saying? It's warm out. I like it. Resendez.
Yeah.
This is the first time I heard of him. Like, I was kind of, doing my research, my homework. What do you think of him? Like, when you're just analyzing his game?
I think he's a tough competitor. He comes to fight. He likes to throw punches in bunches. I think he got off on Jared Hurd. He was having a good fight with Elijah Garcia until he got caught.
Yeah.
And now he's moving up, and this is his big moment. So I know he's coming to take my spot. I always think back to when it was my big moment, and how much I wanted, and how hard I was working for it, and knew that it could be life changing for me. And I'm assuming that he has that same mentality coming this fight. So just like all fights, is someone I'm taking extremely serious, and I'm really locked in on.
Do you find it harder to get up for fighters that, like, 'cause you done did Canelo, Benavidez, right? Like, you've been at the level, the big names, the ultimate level. Do you find it's harder to get yourself motivated against guys that may not have that quality of name?
Not too much. Does it hurt worse to lose to Canelo, or would it hurt worse to lose to Resendez? So he's a fighter who, like I said, this is his moment. I need to take him serious. There's how many fighters have maybe been in a situation and come up short because they just didn't take him serious, or they didn't respect their opponent, and so I don't want to make that same mistake. So I'm locked in, I'm focused, training really hard with Brett and my dad and Rich, and I'm looking to put a show on.
Okay. I was watching the virtual press conference clips and all of that. First of all, it looked like you and Cornflake was about to go at it. I enjoyed the little smoke, man. You and Cornflake.
I mean, his dumb ass kept interrupting me. Like, his interview, or the press conference for him was over, but he wanted to stick around. And somebody asked me about if everything goes right, or you and Jermall fight next, and I'm not really focused on that, but obviously that's the plan, right? But he thinks I'm going to say after he beats Cornflake. That's not my job to figure out who's going to win that fight. That's their job. I don't care about that. I care about my fight. And so when he got to interrupting me and wouldn't let me speak, I'm like, hey, dumbass, it's time to go on. You had your turn, and don't be disrespectful. It's the main event's turn to talk.
You don't be tolerating no disrespect, man.
I just don't like that. I didn't get on his stuff and start interrupting him when, I paid my dues. This is his chance to pay his dues, and then he can be the main event, telling other people to be quiet. But until then, let's be respectful.
He said respectfully, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, respectfully.
Respectfully. Obviously, like you said, right? I think the plan, I don't know if it's been set in stone or whatever, but everyone's kind of looking at it as, Jermall Charlo is on the undercard, so we're assuming if both of you guys win that'll be the fight. Is that still a fight that you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm interested in all the big names at 68, and obviously we've had some history, and it'd be nice to just get in there and just settle it for good, and we can go on our separate ways after that. But I think it's only right that we get in there and settle it and get it worked out, and then we, like I said, we can go on our separate ways. But right now, it's super important for me to lock in on the task at hand. That way, nothing gets messed up.
It's weird, man, because obviously, like, when the slap first happened, I was all into the fight, right? I was like, we need this next. Like, I'm a hype beast with it sometimes, so I was getting on the train. But I feel like since then, Jermall's been in a weird spot, right? Like even the press conference was kind of weird to me. So it's just like I don't even know where he's at sometimes a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he seemed to be a little hot and cold
Yeah.
on the press conference. You know, one second he's just wishing that he gets back, you know, Thomas gets back to his family safely. He said that a handful of times, and then he starts being real cold, and and you know, that's kind of what led to what happened the day we got into it. You know, him being real hot, warm, and welcoming, and then the very next second being cold. So, but I don't really try to figure it out. You know, that's for him to figure out. I got enough going on in my life for me to have to figure out what's going on in his head. So, yeah, hopefully he gets through this fight and does his thing, and you know, stay out of trouble and locked in until the end of the year, and then he can do what he wants to after that. You know.
Yeah. Let's talk about the McCumby fight, man. I really enjoyed that fight. Shit, arguably fight of 2024, fight of the year. It was weird, man. I don't say weird. The first 4 rounds, I was like, all right, all right, is this dude coming on? Is Caleb having trouble? And then it was just like you switched it up, went inside. We saw the elevation in your game. Can you talk about that fight a little bit for me?
Yeah. So, and you know, we spoke a little bit about it before we got on. Sometimes I feel like the general fans, you know, they hear a guy's name and like, oh, I've never heard of him before, or I don't know this guy, and I know that Caleb's really good, so this is going to be a sparring session or heavy bag work. But in reality, there's not really any easy fights. There are fights that you can go out there and you can make easy, but you got to do the right things to do that. And so it was an opponent that we were always taking serious and we weren't overlooking. And sure enough, you know, he came to fight, right? And but other than, and we spoke on this too, but other than, you know, a good shot at the end of round 2 and then, you know, a BS knockdown in round 4, I don't really think he did too much. Obviously, he landed punches here and there, but it's a boxing match. You know, that's going to happen. That just because somebody lands a couple punches here and there, that don't mean that he's getting off on you or even winning rounds. And if you watch the fight, I'm sure you've seen the punch count at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
The punch count was crazy, and you know, in the difference of what I was landing in comparison. And that's coming from a defensive fighter who thinks defensively, you know, but at the end of the day, it's about who's landing more punches.
Do you feel like because obviously, like you said, he landed the one good shot in round 2. Looked like you, I don't say hurt, like it didn't look like, oh, you're hurt, like you're about to go down or whatever the case is, or stay down rather, but in that moment, were you like in your mind, like, oh shit, like we in a real fight?
Well, he caught me with a good shot, boom, and then we locked up in the clinch. And I had felt fine until like the ref went to break us. Or actually, no, we were in the clinch and I kind of fell down.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yep.
And I didn't even really realize it until I had stood back up. But the bell rang right then, and I took one like off balance step, and then after that I felt like my legs were back normal, and I felt fine once I got to the stool. My head felt clear once I was on the stool, and then as soon as the bell rang for round 5, you know, I went right out there and got right to work. So it's not like I was like, he stung me with the shot, but it's not like I was buzzed or like on noodles or anything like that. So, but it was a good shot.
Were you, because obviously the focal point to me was the inside game, the inside work, right? Like you got in there, you smothered him, you framing, head position proper.
Yeah.
Was the inside game, was that a part of the game plan? Like, all right, we're gonna wait a couple of rounds and then go inside, or y'all just made that adjustment on the fly based on what was happening?
Well, I was boxing him those first couple rounds. I felt like he was kind of awkward and like bull rushing me, and even like in round 4 when he kind of bull rushed me and knocked me down. And then there was another time shortly after that, I think, where he kind of like had my arm and spun real quick, and I had fell down and got right back up. But it just felt like he was kind of awkward and bull rushing from the outside and lunging and jumping in. So just felt like it would be a good adjustment to make my way to the inside. And I had like an 18-month break since my fight before that.
Yeah.
And that whole probably 16 months, I was just like working on my inside game, just like practicing. in the gym with my dad. And, you know, Brett, we also send Brett my sparring because he's in Philly, and he'll make his way out to Vegas, and we'll make our way out to Philly. But a lot of times it's just me and my dad in the gym, and so just going over it. And, you know, it came in handy, you know, when I needed
that, brother. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't know you was like that on the inside.
Yeah. I haven't always been, you know, and it's just, it's not that I couldn't fight on the inside, but I just didn't have the, what's the word, you know, all the tools that I needed to really have success in there and slow things down. So, like I said, it was good that me and my dad had been working on that for so long and so hard, because it wound up being, you know, the key to, I'm sure I could have just boxed him up from the outside too, but after that round 4, right at the end, I think I started going to the inside. I'm like, oh, I think this is it. And as soon as I came back, Brett and my dad were like, we're staying in the inside the rest of the fight. We're staying in the inside the rest of the fight. I'm like, okay, cool. And in my head, I'm like, okay, cool. I was about to do that anyways, because right at the end of the round, I had felt like, oh, this is working.
Yeah.
So round 5, boom, got right back to work, and all she wrote.
I like that. I like that you're able to still learn things at this juncture in your career, right? Like, you're already a veteran. It ain't like you're a rookie, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, we don't see them learning still as they're like veterans. You know what I mean?
I think that's a mistake, you know, because one thing that's cool about boxing is, like, it's super hard to master. You know, even like the greats, the legendary fighters, as great as they were, it's hard to be perfect at anything, you know? So it's like a never-ending process of getting better, smoothing the edges. And I'm a big competitor, so, like, I'm always competing in my mind to, like, smooth those edges in my game. Yeah. And so I feel like you should never be too old to add tricks to your game, you know?
Yeah, I like that. Yo, I heard that you were supposed to walk out with the Undertaker one time to the ring. I heard the Undertaker was supposed to walk you out, do the whole thing, the lights with the I don't know what you call it,
Yeah.
the fedora, I don't know what it. But what happened to that? The Undertaker was supposed to walk you out. Is that true?
It was, yeah. We basically had it, but I think the next night was like the WWE show, and so that's why he was in Vegas to begin with. But something wound up happening, and him not being able to make it, and, you know, obviously he's a legend, and you know, busy man, I'm sure, so no big deal. But yeah, that would have been dope if we were able to.
We need
make
that. We gotta get the Undertaker again. We gotta see that.
Yeah, that would have been fire.
Like, if the lights cut off, and then you in the ring with him or something. Yeah, with the.
Doom, doom. Yeah, that would have been sweet.
Okay. Obviously, there's a couple other, like, you know, big fights coming up. You know, you fought Canelo. You've been to the level. You know what I'm saying? They saying him and Terrence Crawford supposed to fight. You know, Bud is your man. How you see that fight? Like, I feel like you know both of them well. Maybe not just personally, but, you know, from a fighting standpoint.
I think it's an interesting fight. You know, I think it's easy to right away say, like, oh, Canelo's about to just smash him, right? But, man, Terrence is, like, a different type of guy. And not to say that I know who's going to win. That night, I'm just there as a fan, you know, and want to see a good fight. But Terrence is, you know, freakishly strong. He's got a good wrestling background, so he's got good balance. He's got good framing, a great inside game. But, you know, Canelo's a legend too, and a great fighter, you know, definitely pound for pound. So it's hard to say. You know, it's easy to say there's weight classes for a reason, but I think to me, it almost seems unfair to say, like, oh, this person's for sure going to win or that person, because they're so, you know, respected, both of them, so great at what they do, that I just want to see as a fan, you know, let the bell ring and let them do the thing. Yeah. Let both men go home to their families and make some good money doing it.
Okay. I saw a tweet that kind of went up not too long ago where they said, does Caleb Plant deserve more recognition as a pay-per-view star? Because you and Canelo did, like, I think they said like 700,000 buys or something like that.
Yeah, I think closing in on 8, like 750, 8 right in there.
And I guess that's been more than, you know, majority of the other fights that he's had in recent memory. How do you look at yourself in terms of that, right? Like, when we talk about pay-per-view attractions and, like, you know, your star power, how do you view yourself?
I mostly just try to focus on the work, but I think it's up there for sure. Like, I think the other day, Tim Smith, who works for PBC, said that outside of pay-per-views, I have the most viewership of any other active fighter out of anybody. And don't quote me on that, quote Tim Smith. But yeah, that's what he said. And then as far as my pay-per-views go with Canelo and David, I think they both did really well. And so I know I'm up there for sure. I know I'm up there. And it feels good, because I can remember when first starting out boxing, like nobody really looking my way, nobody really believing in me. There's this kid from Tennessee way out in the woods. Who is this kid? Who does he think he is? He's going to come in here and do his thing. And now I feel like, I'm one of the biggest names in the world, and especially in the U.S. market, I feel like I'm one of the most, the biggest names and one of the most loved fighters. So it feels good, when a plan comes together like that. So.
What do you think was the turning point where you started to really feel like, oh shit, like I got fans for real, like I'm one of the premier guys?
Probably, I feel like I really probably gained a lot of respect from the general fans after the Canelo fight. Yeah. I think some people go into a Canelo fight just happy to be there and just for a check, and that's kind of how their attitude comes across. And, I think I showed everyone that, while the money is important and, I got to provide for my family and I want to make a great living doing this, that there's more to it than that with me, that I really love the sport and I'm a true competitor. And I'm disappointed with the outcome, obviously, but I think I proved that, with a few adjustments, that I'm right at the top with anybody.
I agree with that. I think one of the things that's, I guess, interesting is, your fights with, like, you fought Canelo, you fought Benavidez, right? Came up short, but, like, you're one of the elite guys of the division. And there's another elite guy that everybody want to see you fight right now. You know what I'm about to say? Edgar Berlanga. We need that, Caleb. I'm not going to lie. I've been a proponent of this. I told him the same thing. We need to see that fight, man.
Yeah.
He says it's going to happen. You're obviously down. You feel like that's coming soon?
I can't say it enough that right now I'm just focused on the task at hand. Against Resendez, but that's a fight that I've been asking for, calling for, and that's a fight that I want. And if there is any holdup why it hasn't happened yet, then I think all the fans know that doesn't have anything to do with me, So, yeah, I'm not hard to get a hold of. That's a fight that I want, and, he's had a lot of things to say about me, and I want to prove who the better man is.
Does that add fuel to the fire that y'all been going at it? Because he was on my show recently, this is maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and he was like, man, Caleb's soft. That I said, come on, don't do that. Caleb not soft, but he was standing on it, and it's discontent there. Does that add more fuel to it where you like, you know what, man, I gotta get at this guy?
Yeah, it does. And, if he truly feels like I'm soft, I think everybody in boxing agrees that that's a big fight with a lot at stake. A lot of money to be made for both of us, and if he really felt like I was soft or if I was trash or all the things that he says, I feel like that fight would have already been made by now, and he would have come in and stepped on me and moved on to the next man, right? If I'm trash, if I'm soft, if I'm this, if I'm that, and so if he truly felt like that, we'd probably already be fought or be fighting. So you don't believe that, I don't believe that. And Edgar doesn't believe that.
But I think y'all two, that's probably outside of the Canelo's, fights, like that's probably the biggest fight at 68 to me.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yep. No reason it shouldn't be happening.
Okay. Definitely looking forward to that. I mean, hopefully he could take care of business against Shiraz. You got to take care of business against Resendez. That we're gonna revisit this right here.
My line's open.
All right. Talk to me about, I want to know, because like you said, you felt like you were kind of undervalued, the kid from Tennessee that just kind of came up and people were looking over you. I want to know about that, man, that Caleb, right? Like, take me to the trenches, Caleb, where you coming up, country, trying to make it, a Caleb with a dream. Like, tell me about that.
Like, specifically?
Just like your mind frame, like where you were at to try to get to the point where you're like, boxing is a real, like, this is real for me. Like, I'm here, I've arrived.
I mean, for me, it's like since I was 9 years old, all I wanted to do was fight. I didn't want to be an astronaut. I didn't want to be the president. I just wanted to be a fighter. And, my dad fought when he was younger, and so it was natural for him to want to open up that door for me. I've spoken that before, and him and my granddaddy got together and put a little money together to open up a small gym. And I've said this in other interviews, but it was like a white tile floor and no mats on the floor, no ring, just tape in the shape of a square. And when we'd spar, we'd stand around and hold hands so that people wouldn't be busting through the walls, and people would slip and fall and still wind up putting holes in the walls. And there was like one heavy bag in the corner that you couldn't even work all the way around because it was so close to the corner, and that's all we had. But like I said before, when you really want something, you don't need the latest, fanciest technology. If you got it here and here, that's all you need. And I've had good coaching, with my dad and the coaches that he put around me early when I was a kid. That, it's not just about this. It's about this. Yeah. And they taught me to fight smart and to box smart. And I just felt like my life depended on it. Like, man, if I do not make this, I don't see myself going to school. I don't see myself doing this, doing that. And, there's honor in all work, right? That's something my dad's always told me, that regardless of the job, there's honor in all work. Because if you don't think so, wait till there ain't nobody to do that job. You're going to be wishing there was. So, but some of those things just aren't for me. I couldn't, my mind would explode, standing in one place all day. So I'm like, man, if this does not work out, it's a wrap for me. It's over. And, all my best friends as kids, that I grew up with, wound up going to jail, going to prison. And this isn't, obviously I'm not saying any names, but grew up to be addicts and got on hardcore drugs. And like all my closest friends that I grew up with wound up going down that path. And those are all guys that I hung out with all the time. And so I'm glad that I had that sanctuary to run to. And, I've said this in other interviews too, but it's like at home, I was somebody that nobody would want to be. You wouldn't want to live where I lived or have the house I have, or, it was chaotic at home, and the yelling and the fighting and breaking shit and just chaotic. But when I got to go to the gym, it was like a sanctuary where I wound up, even as a kid, being somebody that other people wanted to be like, even grown men, like, man, I wish I could fight like that or be like him or do that. And then as soon as I leave the gym, I'm going back to being somebody no one wants to be. And it just like became a drug for me where, I don't have much control of what happens outside those doors and what goes on. But in here, it's like, man, I have control. Like I have say-so in what happens, and I can dictate what happens, and from get off school at 2:45 and be in the gym by 3:15 and not leave till 9:30, 10 o'clock every single night, 6 days a week. And so I got to quickly like surpass my peers because of how much time I was spending in the gym. And my dad also opened it because he was drinking and just doing dumb shit, and he wanted to clean that up, And unfortunately, my mom, she wasn't able to get that together. But my dad just said that he had enough of that shit. He was done with that stuff, and he wanted to get back in shape. And so it was like a sanctuary for both of us, And here we are.
So tell me, all right, when you transition from that, you're a pro now, right? Like this, the early days, Caleb's, first fight. Yeah. We just said there was 18 PBC fights, I think, or something like that. But take me to the early days, right, where you're a pro. This is like, all right, this is my career path. Did you feel like, all right, I know I could be champion? Were you feeling like, damn, this shit is not what I want it to be? No. Like, where was your mind at, like, as the early pro days?
Since I was 9 years old, I always knew I'd be a world champion.
Oh, you knew? Right?
I always knew it since I was a kid. I knew 100% in my heart. I knew on everything I love, on every single thing I loved since I was a kid, I always knew for 100% fact that I'd be world champion. Because honestly, that was like the only thing that was keeping me going. With, all that was going on in my life, I just always had this strong feeling in my heart, like, almost like drawing me to it. And even moving towards, the early days of my pro career, like when Aaliyah was still here and all that, like, man, it would be like exhausting at times. Like, can't even sleep at night. Like, just this feeling in my chest that would keep me up. Like, man, just keep going and you'll make it. Just keep going and you'll make it. And no matter what happened to me, I never lost that feeling of like, man, I know I'm going to make it one day. So I always felt like, I knew that no matter what happens in my life, if I just keep going, good things will happen.
How you beat the discouragement factor, right? Like, there's a lot of people that look up to you, that watch you, hear your story and get inspired, and they're working towards things that are like, man, this is hard, I feel like quitting. How do you get past the discouragement part of working towards the journey?
Well, if you quit, then you know you got your for sure answer, right? You know, but if you keep going, then who knows what could happen, right? But you for sure gonna know what's gonna happen if you quit. Right. And also I got a competitive spirit, so like the more people tell me no, the more I'm like, all right, motherfucker, I'm gonna show you. Like, no, you can't make it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna show you. So, and I've always been like that. Like when people tell me I can't accomplish something, when I can't do something, that I'm just this or I'm just that, I just get like in my head, I'm like, all right, motherfucker, I'm gonna show you what I can do. Yeah. I'm gonna show you what I can do. So you got to keep going, man. You got to keep going. That's what, to me, the revenge tour. You know, a lot of people who know me probably know my clothing line revenge tour. That's what it's about. You know, every time you get told no, every time you fall short, you know, you're not a step further from your accomplishing that. You're a step closer. And you got to stick to the path. Just keep walking the straight and narrow. And if you keep putting in the work and walking the right way, eventually you'll look up and you'll be there.
I like that, man. Talking about the revenge tour, you got the shirt on, you got the RT shirt on right now, man. The merch has been flying, bruh. Tell me about what's the new collection, man? Where can I get it? Is it still on Edgar Berlanga.com?
That's funny. This is actually a revenge tour sample. My favorite flannel is from a company called Needles. Okay. And they have my favorite flannel, so I'm like, man, I want to make one like that. So for anyone watching, I'm sure they may have seen something real super similar with the Needles, but I wanted to make one of my own. So this is a sample that I put together. RT shorts, these are samples as well that I just got in. And it's been going good though. I feel like people really been latching onto it and liking it and understanding the concept of, you know, just continuing on no matter what. And I feel like some people misconstrued like my revenge tour by just being my boxing career. Like, oh yeah, but you lost. Yeah, but the revenge tour is not just about boxing, it's about your life in general. Right. And in general, I'm a winner. And if you look at where I started and look at where I am now, that's what it's about. That's revenge right there. And so yeah, people I feel like been gravitating towards it, and I took a step back, and that's why I haven't dropped anything in a while. And I have a team now. From
what you mean, like designers and stuff?
Design to from A to Z, and are part owners in a factory overseas. So I wanted to.
Oh, you're paying them tariffs right now. Tariff in your ass right
yeah, we're
now.
about to find out here soon. But yeah, so that's why I've taken a step back and haven't dropped anything as of recent, because, you know, I'm looking to elevate and take it to a new level. You know, that way when I step back in and when I come back, you know, people will be like, man, this is a whole. I feel like I've been putting out great quality, but what's next is going to be crazy. So after my fight, June, July, depending on those tariffs, we'll see what's going on. But it's going to be like a motorcycle club theme called Life Behind Bars.
Oh, shit, okay.
Yep, and it's fire.
I like that.
It's fire. It's going to be.
Yeah, your quality is always A1. I got to give you that. As far as merch is concerned, like usually they just give you a Gildan t-shirt with a logo, but your merch I feel like is a real shirt.
Yeah, and that's the difference between me. You know, a lot of fighters sell fight merch and, you know, their face on it, their ring name on it, but this is, to me, it's not merch. You know, it's a lifestyle brand. It's its own brand, separate from my boxing. Yeah. And so that's why I don't really put out too much like Caleb Plant stuff or Sweet Hands or, you know, whatever it may be. I want it to be its own brand, separate from my boxing. So I'm super excited for the next drop though. It's going to be, I think they'll be happy.
You don't go by Sweet Hands anymore, right? I feel like I don't really hear you say that anymore.
Not really.
Not on the shorts. You off that?
Yeah, I've moved on. I feel like I don't really want a ring name or I'm Caleb, you know, and when
But straight, no name,
no ring name. Yeah. I feel like I've never been the type to have like a persona or this act or this show that I put on when I get in the ring. I don't really like a whole lot of stuff like that. So I felt like I just got to the point where I'm like, man, I don't even want a ring name. I'm Caleb. When the bell rings, you know, obviously I have my dad, I have Rich, I have Brett, who I love, Tony, and all those guys, but it's just me in there. And I don't really, like I said, I don't have a gimmick or persona, and that's how I want it to remain. It's just me.
What does success look like to you now at this part of your journey, right? Like, I think the idea of success always changes, right? Like based on where you get, how high you grow. At this point to you, you've done so much, you've been at the pinnacle. What does success look like right now?
In the ring?
Both.
In the ring, just taking it as far as I can. Whether that's, to win as many world championships as I can, to fight as many big names as I can, just keep putting one foot in front of the other till, I can hopefully, the goal is to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And, I've accomplished a goal that every fighter wants, and that's to be a world champion and to have multiple successful title defenses. So now is to continue to rack up world championships as much as I can, and to pick off as many big names as I can, so that, one day my name can be in that big book, and that's written in stone. Nobody can erase that. Sure. And regardless who you think I am or where I'm from or what I look like to you, you can't take that from me. And so that's my goal inside inside of boxing. And obviously it's to make as much money as possible, but sometimes, one thing my dad's always told me is some people chase big money, some people chase legacy, but my dad always told me the legacy fights are the big money fights. Sure. And that's been true for me. Sure. And I've been able to do really well for myself. So I feel like you can get both in the same night, legacy and big money. So just outside of the ring, continue to be have a great relationship with my wife, who I love so much, and my daughter Charlie. We have such a great relationship. I got a son on the way.
Smart, man.
She takes after me.
Son of the way, okay.
Yeah.
Papa K, you gonna let your son box?
I'd prefer him to not box professionally.
Yeah.
Those maxed out baseball contracts sound pretty good.
I like how you think.
Yeah, guaranteed, no CTE, no nothing. Yeah. But, whatever he does, I'm going to support it. And, I still feel like it'd be good for him to get in the boxing gym and train and have some amateur fights. I feel like it'd be good for Charlie to get in the gym and train and have some amateur fights. But as far as, choosing that as a career path, that wouldn't be my number one. But if Charlie or my son, if that's what they really want in their heart, I'm not going to deny them that. I just feel like I've been told so many times in my life, like, oh, you need a plan B. That's not going to work out. What if that don't work out? You need a plan B. Oh, no, you don't need to do that. Like, you come from, Ashland City, Tennessee. Don't nobody make it as a boxer. So who am I to deny my children what they want, when it comes to that. So, and it'll work itself out, So.
Lastly, man, we gotta talk about. I just see your street fight video. You was a kid. I don't know. You look like a teenager, or maybe early 20s or something. And you fighting this big dude. He looked like a heavyweight. You look like you was 154. Or something like that. And it's just a crazy scene. It's like y'all in the hood. First of all, you're pop locking. You punched him, and then you do moves like this. I would have shot you. Yeah. You're not gonna do this move to me.
Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't get shot that day.
That
honestly.
Is crazy. Hold on. First of all. Why did that even happen? Why? You was breakdancing in
Man, we stayed right down the street, and I was staying there.
Oh, you knew this guy?
No, I didn't know. I didn't know him, but me and my buddy, he was younger than me. He's probably like 14, 15. We wanted to go down and shoot basketball. And so, we're walking down there, and I had on some purple Jordan shorts in the video. Yeah. And this dude and his buddies are just standing off to the side, and this dude is tries to keep clowning me, oh, look at this fruity ass white boy, y'all.
Purple, because it was purple?
Yeah.
This must have been in the 90s.
No.
Purple was fire.
I know, right? But just trying to fuck with me for no reason, really, just and wouldn't quit as we're walking through. And man, I got down there, I was I'm younger too, so I'm a little more hot-headed. Yeah. I'm like, man, this motherfucker, I know you ain't playing with me like that, talking to me. And so I seen this metal pole this big, and so I picked it up. I'm like, I'm about to go up there and
do him. You was boxing already at this point? You already?
Yeah. I was training for a national tournament. Okay. I was training for a national tournament. I was in there to do a camp for nationals to go to Colorado Springs. And just on one of the off days, or maybe it was a Sunday, I don't know what it was. Went down there just to get some fresh air, shoot some, whatever. And he did that. We walked on down the basketball court after I said a couple things to him. And I was saying yo, this motherfucker, I know you ain't playing with me like that. I picked up this metal pole. I'm like, man, I'm about to smash this shit in. And then I'm like, it's just two of us, and we're in their yeah. I'm like, I'm bound to wind up getting shot doing this. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. I ain't gonna do that. But we are about to go back up there. Right. I'm like, come on, let's go. And so I'm up there, and as I'm walking to him, like, here comes that fruity ass white boy, y'all. Look at him,
God.
y'all. Look at him. Da 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 da. I'm like, man. And he's like, I heard you box. I was like, yeah. He said, well, I'm the Mike Tyson of this hood. And as soon as he did that, I just took off on his. Yeah, I just took off on his ass. Wow.
I like that.
Wop wop wop. And you know, he was trying to embarrass me, you know, and up me. And I'm like, so that's when I started like dancing and trying to embarrass him and messing with him and stuff. And I guess he had just had enough, and he started reaching in his pocket. I'm like, oh shit, what's he doing? And he pulls out a knife, and he opens it up. And he starts coming at me, and then my buddy come up, boom, and smacked him from like point blank range with a basketball, like square in his face, pow. And then everybody started getting on my buddy, like, what are you doing? Leave him alone. And then like he pulled a knife, and then he starts running after me, so we had to get up out of there. But
damn. Oh, did you experience that a lot? Like, I feel like you was the white guy in the black neighborhood that they be on you.
Like I didn't grow up in a black neighborhood. You know, I'm from the country. I'm from 30 minutes outside of Nashville, like way out in the country. But I have friends in all places. You know what I'm saying? I have friends who haven't left the woods. I have friends who ain't left the hood. I have friends who are lawyers, friends who need lawyers, friends who gangbang, friends who are millionaires, billionaires.
Right.
You know, so sometimes I wind up in all kinds of places. But yeah. And then I jumped the fence. Thinking back to that incident, we were running through the yards because we're like, man, we jumped over a fence. I looked down and my thumb was like sticking out like this, and this knuckle was popped way out, and I went boom, and it slid back in place. I'm like, oh shit, my daddy's about to kill me, boy, if I miss nationals. So,
right.
But
Caleb, you been fighting since you was a kid, for real, man.
I've been in some unfortunate situations. Yeah, that ain't I got better stories than that, but we'll save that for another day.
All right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you pulling up.
My man.
Dope episode of Cigar Talk. My man, Caleb Plant. We out of here.